countries that have been under European control. According to this map, it says that those with this color were never colonized by Europeans. But that is a lie. Every single case is a lie. They were all conquered by Europeans. So colonized or controlled is the gist here. It doesn't have to be an official colonization for it to be control, which is the point of denying the green color there. It should be green because it was controlled by Europe. All of them at one point or another, as I will prove. Number 1, Liberia. The American Colonization Society. Liberia is a European colony where the Europeans from the United States, because it's racially European historically, mostly British and German, now more German than British, or more German than English anyway. They sent a bunch of African Americans to Liberia to get rid of them because they're racists, with the pretext that they're anti-racist and want to help them. So they supported them going back to Africa. They colonized this land, and who controlled it? Well, look who is honored by the capital name Monrovia, James Monroe. So the United States controlled it for a while until it became nominally independent. Number 2, Ethiopia. Don't you see it? It's right there. The independence of Ethiopia was destroyed by the Second Italo-Ethiopian War, beginning when it was invaded by fascist Italia in early 1935, and by subsequent Italian rule of the country after Italian victory in the war. They say that the Italians lost, but they're talking about a different time. They did win eventually. This covers that. There was a time when Italy controlled all of Ethiopia. Not the minds and hearts of the people, as they say, but the land itself was dominated by Germanics claiming to be the descendants of Italian originals, plus some real Italians in the midst. Number 3, Al-Gharabiya. Wanna-Wanna-Biya. Actually, I love Arabic. It's the most beautiful language, after which comes Irish. Treaty of Darien. House of Saud. British protectorate controlled by Europeans. Next, number 4, Turkey. Whereas they say Turkey. The occupation of Istanbul, the capital of the Ottoman Empire, by British, French, Italia, and Greek forces, many of whom were actually Slavs wishing they were Greeks. Deluded, believing that they were when they're not, because they're not short and black-haired like real Greeks. And you should see my series, Greeks, Latins, Iberians, and Jews were and are not blonde, which I'm not finished with. And I'm delaying because I'm doing this video instead. The Treaty of Sèvres, or however you say that, the treaty ceded large parts of Ottoman territory to France, the Brits, Greece, and Italia, as well as creating large occupation zones within the Ottoman Empire. Turkey was divided, carved up like China. Number 5, Iran, or Iran. The Russians and the British divided it. Number 6, Afghanistan. Now, it has been said by many that no one could conquer Afghanistan, but that's a lie. It's not conquest that's impossible. It's maintaining it forever. That's impossible. The Treaty of Gandamak ceded various frontier areas as well as Afghanistan's control of its foreign affairs to Britain. He lost control. So why do I mock these Asians? I actually love Asians. It's just that online I've met many racist anti-European Asians who look down on Europeans, and so I'm glad that Europe conquered the world. It wasn't just the British, it wasn't just the Spanish, but it was primarily Western Europeans who conquered the world, and Russians. So I'm glad that happened, so that these proud Asians can't look down on us, because look what happened to them. And look what technology they're using. They're using British technology. See, I give credit where due. And Asia gave us paper. Asia gave us a bunch of other things. So I don't deny their contributions. I'm just saying, don't look down on us. And I'm glad that you were humiliated for your pride. Number 7, Nepal. And anyone saying I'm not European because I'm brown here, well, where I live is the tropics. I live right here right now. So when I go outside in the middle of the day, the very reflection of the sun on the damn sidewalk can tan me. That's how bright it is. And I lived in Miami before, for most of my life. There's no way I'm not going to get tanned eventually. But originally, I will prove later, I was born white, and I am white. My face is darker than my covered skin, like my chest. Anyway, other countries enjoying Independence Day. Nepal, which has never been conquered or colonized, supposedly. Following the unification of Nepal, some guy went around conquering and raping other Asians, and then the British general evicted the Nepalese from some area, ending their brutal 12-year occupation. The Brit offered peace terms to the Nepalese, demanding British suzerainty, which means this: controlling the foreign policy and relations of a tributary, subordinate, inferior state. So they would be British vassals or British slaves, basically, with the freedom to choose which color shirt they could wear, maybe. So yeah, they were independent in that regard. And they would have autonomy in trivial things. But when it comes to foreign policy, you submit to Britain, or you get knocked out. Number 8, Bhutan. Why did they put an H? Because if they don't put an H, people will pronounce it as button, or butt on, which is very insulting. Let's see, Dwar War. Alright, so they lost 20% of their territory. Under the terms of the Treaty of Sinchula, Bhutan ceded territories there and there, blah blah blah, and they got some help from the British. You know, they paid them 50,000 rupees per year, even though they took a lot more from them. So it's like a bully beats you up, takes $10 from you, and then promises to give you $1 every year. They took control of Bhutanese foreign relations. Aww, that's just too bad. Number 9, Siam, aka Thailand, aka lie about your gender land. Disgusting. Transferred 4 of the 5 Malay states from Siamese to British control. Damn, you lost 4 out of 5 Malay states to those racist pirates, the Brits. Bahrain Treaty, allowing free trade by foreign merchants in Bangkok. As previously, all foreigners were heavily taxed by the Siamese crown. Look at that, man. The Brits took his crown, threw it on the ground, trampled on it, and put it back on his head, saying, "You will not touch our people. You will not tell us what to do." How humiliating. But that's what they get for their pride and whatever other sins they did. All nations fall because of pride. Europeans fall because of that. Asians fall because of that. So let's see. British subjects were given the right to trade freely in all seaports and to reside permanently in Bangkok, etc. The Empire of Japan launched an invasion of Thailand, and then Thailand became the bitch of Japan, and then the Thai government declared war on the United States and the British, but they ignored Thailand's declaration of war. Wow, they didn't even take it seriously. Franco-Thai War. Let's see. So France lost some provinces to Thailand from Cambodia and Laos. And why did this happen? Because this was, what year was this? 1941. So because of the Nazis, the Thai took advantage of the weakness of France to take some lands from the French in Indochina. However, after the Japanese invaded Thailand and they got involved there militarily, this happened over here. The Siamese had to give back to France all the territories taken during the Franco-Thai War. Well, that's what they get. Following the conflict, Siamese agreed to cede Laos to France. Ouch. The Siamese submitted fully to the French. Entente cordiale, or however you say that. The British and the French proposed zones of influence in Siam, dividing it between themselves. Number 10, China. Zhongguo. 20,000 armed troops from these nations were sent to China, including the Japanese, but most seem to be Europeans. They plundered the capital. So they took the head of China and they bashed it. That is very humiliating, especially when the Chinese look down on all of these dirty barbarians, so-called. Hong Kong was given to Britain because the Brits wanted to make drug addicts out of the Chinese. That's really shameful, Brits. But at least you humiliated the proud Chinese. For looking down on other people, they deserve humiliation. What did other people do to them, those racist Chinese? Second Opium War. So you want to be racist, Chinese? Well, the biggest racists in the world are coming for you, for the Second Opium War. China ceded more than 1.5 million square kilometers of territory to Russia. Ouch! So, in the Treaty of Tientsin, 1858, these Europeans would have the right to establish diplomatic legations in Beijing, the forbidden city, I guess, or forbidden among forbidden cities. 10 more Chinese ports would be open for foreign trade, and all foreign vessels, including commercial ships, would have the right to navigate freely on the Yangtze River, and foreigners would be able to travel wherever they wanted in China, and China had to pay reparations. Very humiliating. Number 11, Mongolia. So what happened here was that to eliminate the threat posed by Ungarn, who was a German menacing, well, he kicked out the Chinese from Mongolia. Bolshevik Russia, so the filthy atheist communists defiling Russia, supported the establishment of dirty atheists in Mongolia's government. So that happened. In other words, the Russians set up a puppet government in Mongolia. Mongolia was controlled by Russia. Mongolia declared its so-called independence again in 1921. It was closely aligned, in other words, it was under the wings of the Soviet Union for decades. The Soviet Union defended its vassal, Mongolia, against the Japanese. And the aforementioned Ungarn Sternberg was a German in Russia who occupied Mongolia for 5 months. So the Mongol Empire humiliated the Teutonic Knights, but perhaps one of their descendants came back and conquered Mongolia. This was not taught to me growing up in the U.S. This is very interesting. I'm not saying he was necessarily a Teutonic Knight's descendant, but perhaps he was. Now look at their script. Does that remind you of any other script showing Russian dominance in Mongolia? Now recently they're trying to get rid of Cyrillic, I think. But look how long it's been with them. Number 12, Korea. Divided between the Russians and the Brits and Germans of the USA. Number 13, Japan. So Perry wrote in his journal, "To show these princes how little I regard their order for me to depart, on getting on board, I immediately ordered the whole squadron under way, not to leave the bay, but to go higher up." So he was bossing around the Japanese in their own home, which is what those racist, proud pirates get. Disgusting and savage, he described the sumos as. He belittled their culture. Close all bases. Marines out. White Tapiga, go home. Countries that have been under European control. This map is very wrong. This map is very right. Bayam. Deus vult. See my video proving that the Bible prophesied that Europe would conquer the entire world. 10 divided empires based on Roman civilization using steel. Theme.